Welcome to the 32nd chapter of the book of Exodus. Moses has been on the mountain. He was sent up to receive the law, and he went up with Joshua. And here it begins, and it says, while he was up there, and the people, seeing that Moses passed time to come down from out of the mountain, the people stood together by Aaron, his brother, Moses' brother, and they say to him, well, rise up and make for us gods who will go before us, in the imperative. Get up, make gods for us who will go before us. For Moses, this man who led us from out of the land of Egypt, we know not what's happened to him. I think he's up there for 40 days and 40 nights. And so they don't know what happened to him. They figure, well, maybe he died, so make us other gods. And in Acts 7:40, Stephen recounts this to the Jews as he's making an apology, not an apology, he's making a witnessing to the Jews that are going to stone him to death of how the things that the Jews did in history, rebelled against God. And Aaron says to them, remove the gold earrings in your ears of your wives and your daughters and bring them to me. And all the people removed the gold earrings in their ears, and they brought them to Aaron. Now, it's interesting how here we have Aaron is not, the priesthood hasn't been set up completely yet because Moses hasn't come down and with all the laws of it. Aaron is to be the high priest. But interestingly, he's the first one here to walk away from Jehovah, God, Yahweh, and make idols, go into idolatry, because and so it makes me think of the corrupt priesthood today that's going on in the Roman Catholic Church. I don't want to pick on any particular denomination. Just so happens that they have a huge convocation of cardinals who are coming to deal with the child abuse that's been going on forever, a long, long time in the Roman Catholic Church, and this corrupt priesthood, pedophilia and homosexuality and things like that, which are accepted out. Well, pedophilia is not, but homosexuality in the United States is accepted. No problem if you want to become a homosexual. But within the priesthood of the Roman Catholic Church, they have been, but it's finally taking its toll, and they're being found out. But anyway, so the corrupt priesthood in here, I don't know if it would be correct, and because Aaron is not yet a priest, I wouldn't think so, because Moses hasn't come down with the tablets. But anyway, continues, and it says, and he took them from out of their hands and shaped them with a stylus. So the gold was given to Aaron, and he took these gold pieces and shaped them with a stylus, carving, some type of a carving. Now, how big they were, it doesn't say, but he says, and he made it a molten calf. So, well, a stylus, he must have made the, what do you call it, the casting where you pour the molten gold into to make a calf. So he was carved out that mold. And then they said, these are your gods, O Israel, who hauled you from out of the land of Egypt. And it doesn't say who the they are, if it's Aaron and others. So these are the gods that hauled you, because they pulled the wagons, the calf, and took them out of Egypt. It could be oxen also, I suppose. This Moscow, and I have a little problem exactly knowing exactly what they are, if they're If it's an oxen or a calf, I generally think of something young, but a young calf wouldn't be hauling these wagons, so probably was oxen. And seeing Aaron built an altar over against it. Well, it sounds like one, it, but yet it uses it in the plural in other places. So maybe he made more than one, and maybe one larger, one other small. And Aaron proclaimed, saying, a holiday of the Lord is tomorrow. But yet he still used the name of Kyriou, Yahweh, because it's capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. When that appears, it's a tetragrammaton of YHWH and transliterated English from Hebrew. So he says a holiday is tomorrow. And rising early in the next day, he offered whole burnt offerings and offered the sacrifice of deliverance offering. Now, the offerings hadn't really been set up until Moses comes down, so whatever these were, some type of offerings that they were giving anyway. It sounds like they were pre-law offerings, as people did in many places, Abraham and so forth. And the people sat to eat and to drink, and drinking is alcohol. And they rose to play, and that is recounted by Paul in 1 Corinthians 10:7. It says, for us neither become idolaters as some of them. So these people became idolaters. It had to do with this calf or ox. And the Lord spoke to Moses, that's up on the mountain, saying, proceed quickly to go down from here, for your people whom you led from out of the land of Egypt acted lawlessly. They violate quickly from out of the way which I gave charge to them. Now, they haven't gotten the whole law yet, but they did receive some on the Sabbath, and not to have other gods and so forth. And they made to themselves a maskon, calf, oxen, and they do obeisance to it. That means they're on their faces and their hands and knees, bowing down to this calf, oxen. And they have sacrificed to it animals, killed them and sacrificed. And they said, now whoever they again, Aaron, whoever, and other people, they said, these are your gods, O Israel, who hauled you from out of the land of Egypt. And now, allow me, in the imperative, for being enraged in anger against them, I will obliterate them. So he's enraged in anger against them because of what they are doing. And I'm putting together a booklet, I'm not sure what it'll come out with. It's called Kyriomaki, the law against Jehovah. And here is another place where Jehovah and the people, they're at war with Jehovah. They made another god. And then God says, I will make you, that is Moses, into a great nation. Mega ethnos. Well, that sounds good. Why not? If these people are that bad, why not destroy them and rebuild and build up another nation with Moses? The problem with that is that, as we'll see, the lineage of Jesus comes through the Jews and not through Moses as such. So Moses, it says, and Moses beseeched in front of Kyriou, Lord, God, Theou, and said, why, O Lord, be enraged in anger against your people, whom you led from out of the land of Egypt in great strength, and with your high arm, militarily, in God's strength, by defeating the Egyptian army. Lest at any time the Egyptians should say, in saying, with wickedness he led them to kill them in the wilderness and to completely consume them from the earth. Then that was a quotation of what he thought that the Egyptians would say. But then he continues, cease the anger of your rage and be propitious over the evil of your people. allow them to change. Remembering Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, your servants, to whom you swore by an oath to them according to yourself. And you spoke to them, saying, I will greatly multiply your sperma, seed, as the astra of the Uranu in multitude, the seeds of the stars of the heaven. And all this land which you spoke to give to their seed, which would be Israel, so that they should hold it into the eon. So Moses pleaded with God to have mercy, and it says the Lord dealt kindly concerning the kakias, the bad, evil things, bad, which he said he would do to his people. And Moses, returning, went down from the mountain. And the 2 tablets of the testimony were in his hand. So we have somehow these 2 tablets, a lot of different kinds of pictures of what people think they look like and so forth. But they were tablets of stone, so they were pretty heavy, having been written on both their parts. On this side and that side, they were written. So you have these 2 tablets, and the writing is on both sides of both pieces. And exactly what was on there, it doesn't say exactly. And the tablets were a work of God, not man. God made these tablets. And the writing is a writing of God, a graphe, a graph. It comes from that graph. Chiseled in the tablets. So God chiseled it with his hand, I believe it says somewhere. And Joshua, hearing the voice of the people crying out, says to Moses, it's a sound of war in the camp. Phony, a phone, and polemu, polemics, a war of words. But this is a sound of war in the camp. And it mentions in Exodus 24:13 before, and Moses rising up, and Joshua, the one standing beside him, they ascended in the mountain of God. So that's where Moses came from. He went up with them, and now he's coming down. And he hears this and says it's a sound of war. And he says, Moses says, it is not a sound originating from strength, nor a sound originating by a routing of an enemy, but a sound originating from wine, I hear. Inu, vinu, they're drunk. And when he approached the camp, he sees the calf and the company of dancers, horus. We have a chorus that's transliterated into chorus, and the chorus, a company of dancers. And Moses, being provoked to anger and rage, tossed from his hands the 2 tablets and broke them below the mountain. So Moses gets mad. He gets mad here, and gets mad another place where he hits the rock when God just strikes it, when he just more than once. He gets angry. And having taken the calf, which they made, he incinerated it in fire and ground it fine, melted it down, ground all the gold, and sowed it upon the Ethor, the water. Hydro comes from that, and made the sons of Israel drink it. And Moses said to Aaron, what did this people do to you that you brought upon them a great sin? And Aaron said to Moses, be not provoked to anger, O master, for you know the impulse of this people. For they say to me, make to us gods which shall go before us, which is true. They did say that. For this man Moses, who led us out of Egypt, we know not what's happened to him. And Aaron said to them, anyone who possesses pieces of gold, and I said to them, anyone who possesses pieces of gold, remove them, and they gave them to me, and I tossed them into the fire, and there came forth this calf. Well, that's not correct. Actually, he carved it and melted it himself. It didn't just pop out. And Moses, seeing the people, that they have been dispersed, for they're all drunk and running around, and who knows how long this was, then that Moses stood at the gate of the camp. But in the parentheses, it says, for Aaron dispersed them to be a derision to their opponents. So they're divided, they're easy to conquer. And now Moses at the gate of the camp, and he said, who is for Kyrion? Who is for the Lord, Yahweh, Jehovah? Come to me. Then all the sons of Levi came together. Now, it's interesting that the Levites were the ones to come. Even I don't know if they saw yet what was in store for them to be these holy, sanctified, separated people to God for the tabernacle, but they did come there. And Moses, he says to them, thus says Kyrios, the God of Israel, let each put on himself a broadsword upon his thigh. Arm yourself with a big broadsword. The broadsword is a long sword. Machiros is like a stabbing sword that the Romans had, and the Cephos was like a short knife or a long knife. And let them go through and return from gate to gate through the camp. So apparently they had these openings of gates going in the camp for the tribes. And let each kill his brother. Each kill his brother. There shouldn't be an S there. It should be a brother. If I can cross that out here. Strike out. There. Brother. And we'll go down. No tool. Here we are. And each his neighbor. And each the one nearest him. Let him kill him in the imperative. Each kill him. And the sons of Levi did as Moses said to them. So now Moses is taking charge again. He has the force of Levi behind him, and they are going to go out and kill people. And there fell from out of the people in that day 3,000 males. So they killed 3,000 people. That's a lot. Of course, there's 1 million people in this camp, probably or more. And Moses said to them, you filled your hands today. That means you completed. When he says fill in your hands, you did it. You completed it to the Lord, Kyrio, each one on his brother. Now, they probably knew the people that revolted against Kyrios. And so they probably killed the ones that were guilty of that. That's what I'm guessing. It just didn't go out and kill anybody at will, I doubt. You filled your hands today to the Lord, each one on his brother and his son, to give unto you a blessing. Wow, that's pretty stark and terrible, you would think. I mean, killing your family and you would receive a blessing. Is it worth it? I'm sure the question a lot of people read this would say. Oh, and it came to pass after the next morning, or with the next morning, Moses said to the people, you have sinned a great sin, and now I will ascend to God that I might make atonement on account of your sin. So God is going to, he's going to make an atonement. Now how he is going to atone by going, generally an atonement, generally it had to do with shedding of blood and making an atonement, a sacrifice. And Moses returned to the Lord, went up the mountain again, and that was Jebel Sin Bishar, which was not too high, actually a couple thousand feet, if that much. And Moses returned and said, I beseech, O Lord, Kyrie, this people have sinned a great sin and made to themselves golden gods. And now, if forasmuch as you forgive them of their sin, forgive. But if not, wipe me away from out of your book which you wrote. Now, the blood, the atonement would be his death. And he is giving up his life for these people for the forgiveness of their sins. But not, why then if not, write me out of your book, which you wrote. What book is it talking about? It only mentions a book, this word 976, excuse me, earlier once in Genesis 2:4 and then 5:1, which is pretty much the same, talking about the same thing. And it says in 2:4, this is the book of the origin of heaven and earth, when it became in the day God made the heaven and the earth. So apparently God wrote a book, and I believe everybody's name is in the book. And names can be scratched out of the book, because it says in Revelation 3:5, of the one overcoming, this one shall be covered with white garments, and in no way shall I wipe away his name from out of the book of life. So it's called the book of life. And names can be taken out. And then in Revelation 20:15, it says, and if any should not be found written in the book of life, he was cast into the lake of fire. So wipe me away from out of your book. But the Lord said to Moses, if any sin before me, I will wipe them from out of my book. And now proceed and guide this people into the place which I told to you. Behold, so now he's sending them. Behold, my angelos, angel, shall go forth before your face. And now if that's the fire, the smoke, I'm not sure. And in whatever day I should visit, I will bring upon them their sin. Now he did visit in the person of Jesus Christ, and that generation has been cursed. They put the curse upon themselves. Blood be upon us and our children. And so their sin is continuing today, I believe, because of the rejection of God. When he, whatever day I should visit, he did visit them, and they rejected him. And the Lord struck the people on account of the making of the calf, which Aaron made. So yes, Aaron did make it. Continues as he's up there. The Lord talks to Moses, and we'll find out what he has to say to Moses in the next video seminar. Hope you'll join us, chapter 33, and God bless.